Welcome to my presentation. In this presentation, we shall see how to subtract whole numbers. Let's take an example. The example here is evaluate u minus v when u is equal to 5, 2, 4, 3 and v is equal to 3, 8, 6, 8. Let's say we have a situation of this kind wherein we are given the problem in terms of variables and the values of the variables are given to us and we want to subtract v from u. So the first step we want to do is substitute the values of the variables into the given expression. For u, we're going to substitute the value 5, 2, 4, 3. Let's write that down. Step number 1. 5, 2, 4, 3. And the value of v is 3, 8, 6, 8. Here again, we are going to locate the place values for the numbers given to us, and the place values which are for these numbers are as follows. The first column is the ones place, the second column is the tens place, the third column is the hundreds place, and the fourth column is the thousands place. So that is what we have. Now we want to subtract 3868 from 5243. So as a second step, we're going to subtract the numbers from the top row. When the top row numbers are less than the bottom row numbers, we're going to borrow. 3 is less than 8, so we're going to borrow the number from the next place value. The next place value what we have here is 4, so we're going to borrow from 4. When we borrow, we're going to subtract 1 from 4, that becomes 3, and we're going to add 10 to the ones place, so 10 plus 3, that's going to be equal to 13. So the 13 is greater than 8, therefore we can subtract. 13 minus 8 is equal to 5. So we're going to place the 5 in the ones place. Now we're going to make a decision in the tens column. 3 again is less than 6. So therefore we're going to borrow a number from the hundreds place. So 2 minus 1 is 1. We're going to add 10 to the 3 and that makes it equal to 13. So 13 is now greater than 6. So 13 minus 6 is going to be equal to 7. Now we're going to look at the hundreds column, and in the hundreds column we have a 1, and 1 is less than 8, and therefore we're going to borrow from the thousands place. So in the thousands place we have 5 in the top row, so therefore this becomes 4. 5 minus 1 is 4, and then in here we're going to add 10 to the 1, and that then becomes 11. So 11 is now greater than 8. So 11 minus 8 is equal to 3. And in the thousands column we have 4 in the top row and we have 3 in the bottom row. Therefore 4 is larger than 3, and therefore 4 minus 3 is equal to 1. So therefore when we have variables, what we're going to do is we're going to substitute the values of the variables by the given numbers. Then we're going to place the values in the place value chart and then subtract the bottom row numbers from the top row numbers. If the top row numbers are less than the bottom row numbers, we're going to borrow from the next place value, and that is how we're going to perform the subtraction process. So therefore our answer here is 1375. This is our answer. This is where we want to leave it. Let's look at another example. Let's look at another example, and then in this example, let's say we want to evaluate m minus n when m is equal to 3506 and when n is equal to 2477. Very similar to the problem we had in the previous example. In this example, we're going to follow some few steps. Step number one. We're going to substitute the values of the variables into the given expression. So we have 3506 minus 2477. That is how we can rewrite the problem. And now we're going to subtract 2477 from 3506, and we're going to now place these numbers in the place value chart which we've been talking about. So let's write the first number, 3506, and the second number is 2477. Now let us locate our place values here. Let us locate the place values here, and then say the first column here is the ones column, the second column here is the tens column, the third column here is the hundreds column, and the fourth column here is the thousands column. And now we are ready to subtract. 2477 from 3506. We're going to make a decision if the number in the top row is less than the number in the bottom row, we're going to borrow from the next place value. In the ones column, 6 is less than 7, so therefore we're going to borrow from the tens place. So from the tens place, since we have a 0 there, we're going to borrow from the next place, which is the hundredth place, and therefore we're going to look at the number 5 and then subtract 1 from there, and then 5 minus 1 becomes 4, and then this becomes 10. Then since we are borrowing to the next ones place, this becomes 9, and therefore this becomes 6 plus 10, which is equal to 16. So 16 minus 7 is going to be equal to 9. 16 minus 7 is going to be equal to 9 in the ones column. In the tens column, then we're going to look at 9 and then 7. 9 is greater than 7, and therefore we can subtract 7 from 9, which is going to be equal to 2. In the hundreds column, 4 is equal to 4. 4 minus 4 is equal to 0, and therefore we're going to move to the next place. The next place is the thousands place, and we have a 3 which is larger than 2. 3 minus 2, which is equal to 1. Therefore, when we subtract 2477 from 3506, the value which we are left with is 1029. This is our step 2. This is how we want to represent our answer. So whenever we are given the equation in terms of variables, and if the values of the variables are given to us, as a first step, we're going to substitute the values of the variables into the given expression. Then we're going to lay them out in the way we have been doing these problems, in terms of placing them in the place value chart, and then making sure that the ones column lines up, the tens column lines up, the hundreds column lines up, and the thousands column lines up. And then we're going to subtract the numbers in the bottom row from the numbers in the top row. And in step number 2, we said if the numbers in the top row are less than the numbers in the bottom row, we're going to borrow from the next place value. And when we complete the operation, we're going to come up with an answer, and this is where we want to leave it. So when we subtract 2477 from 3506, we are left with 1029. That is our answer. In my next presentation, we shall see how to use subtraction of whole numbers to solve real-world application problems.